The Walking Dead is the next episodic game series by Telltale Games, after games like Back to the Future and Jurassic Park. Telltale Games have made a name for themselves in the episodic games market with these titles, but The Walking Dead is different. Although at its core, it's a point-and-click game with not the most appealing graphical style, but this isn't where the game shines, it's the story. The Walking Dead focuses on the story and the character development and have done so successfully, as this game is arguably one of the best stories in a video game and attaches you to the characters so well that by the end of the game, you should have let at least one tear escape. The Walking Dead is based off the comic book series with the same name and starts off at the beginning of the zombie apocalypse as the dead begin to rise. You play as Lee Everett, a former university professor who finds himself in the company of Clementine in the early days of the outbreak. He knows it's his responsibility to look after this 8-year-old in the absence of her parents, and the two together travel to Savannah while running into other survivors. The character development in the Walking Dead game is done so well, almost every character in the game is relevant and somebody you care for. You will run into characters that you will really learn to care for, while other characters you just love to hate, and this is where the dialogue options and player choice really shine. You can choose to take sides in arguments and even have to choose who to save between two people, with the choice in most cases leading to one of the characters' death. As you get more emotionally attached to some of these characters, the choices become harder and harder to make during the 5 episodes. But the coolest thing about these choices is that it will affect the overall story of the game. The story stays on the same basic path through all the episodes, but what does change is who will accompany you, who will take your side, and who will turn against you, and it is a good incentive to play the game multiple times. Another thing is that the cast of this game is constantly changing. As characters die off, new ones come in, and create a bit of needed freshness into the story through each episode. All 5 episodes combined will lead to about 10 hours, with each episode having some nice pacing and being around 2 to 3 hours long. The overall story and character development of the Walking Dead game is very impressive and is arguably even better than the highly successful Walking Dead TV show. And the ending to episode 5 will pull at your heartstrings so tight you're bound to sit through the credits in shocked silence, and if not that, cry. The Walking Dead game is very light on gameplay. As I mentioned earlier, it's just a point and click game, but it's a good one. The gameplay is mostly consisted of picking dialogue options and clicking on the object you want to interact with, but it's the simple gameplay that we saw in other Telltale games that is being refined in The Walking Dead. Occasionally you can take hold of a sniper or a gun and shoot once in a while, but it's very limited and quick. The one thing that may grab people's attention is the player choice affected parts of the game. The game will send you a message every time something relevant to the story's possible change occurs. This could be as small as somebody learning your name, or as big as abandoning or getting a character killed off. These are the kind of things that change the game's path, which is probably the best gameplay element found in The Walking Dead. Another thing worth pointing out is the choppiness of the frame rate at times. Whenever it shows up previously in The Walking Dead or next time in The Walking Dead, the game shows you clips which only apply to your game based on the choices you make, but the deciding of what clips to show are live, which leads to frame rate drops and freezing lasting up to 10 seconds. This could also sometimes happen during the main game. The PC version doesn't seem to have these problems, but it's still worth pointing out as these issues can apply to the console ports of the game, and the game hasn't escaped a few glitches around episode 3, such as an invisible RV and a misplaced camera. The game has purposely given itself the comic book-like graphical style which replaces the extreme high-resolution graphics, which, for me at least, isn't a bad trade. The graphical style works for the game, even in the bloodiest of scenes, and still manages to look good when travelling through this dark, gritty world of The Walking Dead. The soundtrack to this game is well done, and the voice acting is fantastic. I say this because I know there was no way I could believe in or care for these characters if their voice acting wasn't amazing. Luckily for Telltale, they were. Besides replaying the game with different choices to see how different the game can be from your original playthrough, there is no real replay value to The Walking Dead game. The trophies or achievements will be 100% done by the time the credits roll, as every single one of them is story related, and the light gameplay doesn't leave much room for extra exploration. If you're looking for a game that has plenty of replay value and is bang for your buck in terms of lasting content, The Walking Dead is probably not your game. The Walking Dead is best for 1 or 2 playthroughs, but there is almost no incentive other than the different story outcomes to return to this game. The Walking Dead is a storytelling masterpiece, and it's definitely a game worth checking out for its incredible story and character development. If you're looking for a game with heavy gameplay or graphical achievements with lots of side content, The Walking Dead is not the best choice for it. But it's still a game that is contended for Game of the Year 2012, a surprising rank, but a true one for this kind of game. Thanks for watching. I'm Mega Gamer, and check out the channel for more reviews, or check out the channel for my Walking Dead playthrough.